Hello, everybody. I'm Phil Brandt, President and CEO of AIM Employers Association, and welcome to This Week at Work.
Welcome to This Week at Work, the only show to pack workplace news, practical HR solutions, and timely insights into every 30-minute episode. From the latest rulings in the courtroom to the strategies unfolding in the boardroom, and from real conversations taking place on the front lines to spotlighting what similar companies are doing about the challenges they face. This Week at Work brings you the conversations that matter most to HR professionals and business leaders like you. Brought to you by AIM Employers Association and Ogletree Deakins, live every Thursday morning. This is your opportunity to connect with their experts and ask your burning questions. So what's keeping you up at night? Let's face it together now on This Week at Work.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Happy to be here with you. We got a great program, and our buddy Burt Garland's back. Hey, Burt, how are you, bud? Happy to have you back.
I'm doing well today, Phil. I'm excited for hockey. Hockey is back in the swing these days, to use a baseball metaphor.
Yeah, no, I'm really proud of our members, the St. Louis Blues. It took them all 82 games to get there, but they got there and they're back in the playoffs. And you know what they say, anything can happen once we get back to the playoffs. So Saturday is the first game.
I think after that four-country tournament, the Blues were the best team in hockey. They were like 19-4-2, maybe something along there. My kids told me the numbers. I'm not recalling them exactly, but I'm pretty sure I got the 19 and the 4 correctly.
I'm sure somebody will text in and tell us and correct us if we're wrong, because they definitely like to keep us honest. But no, you're right. They definitely have been the best team in hockey since that tournament. So you never know. I mean, it almost feels a little bit like 2019 when they went on their Stanley Cup run and surged at the end of the season. So fingers crossed. I know I'll be watching a game come Saturday. All right, Burt, we got lots of things to chat about. I want to remind our listeners that you can join into the conversation, send us a chat. We'd love to get your perspective or answer your questions. If you have them, just let us know. We're going to talk a little bit about change management here. But first, we're going to go through Lawyer on the Clock. Burt, are you ready for that?
I am ready, Phil.
Okay, Burt. Nick, pull that lever.
Curious about a case that could wreck your workplace? Lucky for you, we have a lawyer on the clock.
So, Phil, it wouldn't be a This Week at Work without us bringing the listeners the latest news. And this one, of course, relates to a topic everyone in Missouri is concerned about, and that is the new Missouri Paid Sick Leave Act. And, I know you've been...
Burt, I don't have to worry about Missouri paid sick leave if I'm already giving people 2 weeks of vacation time up front. So there's nothing for me to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing for you to worry about except everything to worry about. So I'm going to try to bring everybody the latest. And that is that yesterday there was debate on a House bill that would repeal the Missouri Paid Sick Leave Act, and very significantly, the Democrats in the Missouri legislature filibustered all day yesterday to try to prevent the legislation that would repeal the Missouri Paid Sick Leave Act. The legislation would actually repeal it, and so the Democrats filibustered yesterday. And what really it's probably happening is that that's trying to buy time for negotiations to take place. There was some tinkering yesterday, or some proposals at least, for the minimum wage piece of the legislation to be tinkered with just from the standpoint of subsequent year increases. And then there was also proposals tinkering with the Missouri Paid Sick Leave Act in and of itself. My feeling is that this is going to pass and that this is going to be repealed. There's a weird possibility that if it passes and it gets repealed, that the law will actually go into effect on May 1, and then it might then the new legislation wouldn't go into effect until August 28th. So we might end up with this weird interim period where the law is in effect unless the Republicans can pass the repeal legislation with an emergency provision in it that would make the repeal effective immediately. So all kinds of things to keep our eyes on. I do think the Republicans have the votes to pass the legislation to repeal it. Whether it's done on an emergency basis or not remains to be seen.
Yeah, that's we got to keep our eyes on that because that date's coming close. I know I got my letter on my desk the other day, my 8.5 by 11 with the font, and what my rights are under the law to sick leave. Hopefully, you've been notified through Ogletree Deakins and the HR team there of your rights as well, and so should everyone that's listening, regardless of what's in front of us. That part of compliance should have already occurred.
Yeah, that part should have occurred as of April 15th on tax day. The notifications should have gone out. I am suggesting to people that we still plan for this to go into effect on May 1, but we might be able to put the brakes on it. We might hopefully get some more guidance, maybe still this week, but hopefully by the end of next week.
All right, what else you got there, Burt?
All right, so another one that I want to talk about, Phil, and I think this is really important for employers to be aware of these days. The current presidential administration, the Trump administration, has been pushing the Department of Homeland Security to accelerate the pace of deportations. And just yesterday, Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, said that federal agents are going to quote unquote, pour into sanctuary cities and then increase enforcement operations at places of employment as the administration looks to ramp up its deportation push. And so I just raised this from the standpoint that employers should be up to speed on what their obligations are if ICE, Immigrations, Customs Enforcement, or Department of Homeland Security would show up at work and demand access to employees for the possibility of arresting and deporting employees. Employers would be wise to kind of brush up on what their obligations are to let ICE in and to cooperate. And so, basically the bottom line is that ICE is a law enforcement agency and they have the authority to enter a workplace or if they show up with a warrant or really with a warrant, they have the authority to come in and start investigating. And, you just want to brush up on what your obligations are as an employer to cooperate. And I know that we can provide guidance on that to employers who might be concerned.
Yeah. So, to me, if I'm familiar, remember a little bit about that. There is an issue of they would probably demonstrate that they have a warrant. If they don't have a warrant, you want to handle that a little bit like an OSHA investigation. Let's invite them, get them comfortable, contact your lawyer, and work it from there. Yeah.
Yeah. For the most part, I
didn't have a warrant. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's correct. But keep in mind that because they are an actual law enforcement agency, if they have some sort of probable cause to come on your premises, then they may not need the actual warrant. My advice to the employers is try to cooperate, minimize the disruption of this, and work with the federal agency to accomplish what they're there to accomplish.
Normally, Burt, when we're having these conversations, often I'll say, hey, give your AIM hotline a call or call Ogletree. Either way, you can't go wrong. In this case, just call Burt. Don't bother and call me. If I shows up at your door, call Burt. Because if you call me, I'm calling him. So I'm going to just cut out the middleman on this one and go straight to Ogletree for some assistance. All right, keep going there, Burt.
All right, and then the last one that I want to talk about, Phil, we've talked about this case so many times on the program because it really is a hugely significant case that came out of the U.S. Supreme Court last year, and in particular, it's really relevant to us in St. Louis, and that is the case of Muldrow versus the city of St. Louis. And you'll recall this is the one that the Supreme Court basically determined that workers need to demonstrate only that they've experienced, quote unquote, some harm regarding the terms and conditions of their employment that left them, quote unquote, worse off, in order to establish that they suffered potential harassment, really discrimination in the workplace. And so this was a pretty major change that it used to be that all plaintiffs in these cases really had to prove that they suffered what was considered to be a material change in the terms and conditions of their employment before they could make a claim against an employer. And again, the Supreme Court said that they just need to show that they've experienced some harm, something that left them worse off. And there's the courts around the country, the circuit courts, are really kind of struggling right now with what does that mean. Yeah. And this one will kind of send some shockwaves through to the employers, and that is there's a lot of cases where performance reviews and performance improvement plans, which have really been a long time vehicle for employers to manage their employees. It allows business leaders to discuss workplace performance issues, set goals, outline expectations for the calendar year. They can also inform business decisions, even actions like less formal than PIPs, like coaching or support plans that would have traditionally been used as a benefit to improve performance are now being kind of turned on their head and used as adverse employment actions to support broader discrimination claims. And so this one is kind of, if
that feels like a real stretch to me.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, and I agree, but there are circuit courts around the country that have said that performance improvement plans or bad performance reviews are adverse actions. And so, even though they're smaller than a demotion or a termination of employment, they are a form of an adverse action. And Muldrow, the Supreme Court, left up to the circuit courts to determine where that line is drawn, where something really does constitute some form of harm, something that makes the employee worse off. And so, again, I think that if that this is going to take a little bit of time to work its way through the court systems, it may ultimately end up being back in front of the U.S. Supreme Court at some point, where the Supreme Court helps define where that line is.
Man, I'll be honest, that blows my mind. I
agree.
I hear that and I'm like, how does the world get to where we're at, where we can't document a process to help someone improve for the benefit of saving their job and employment? And maybe we go back to simple laws of physics here. I mean, every action deserves, or will have an opposite and equal reaction. And that doesn't make it I guess it could be adverse, but I guess, adverse performance deserves an adverse reaction, if that be the case. And that seems very fair to me. But yeah. that one just strikes me as, what the heck is happening?
Yeah, well, I tend to agree with you on that, Phil. And, just with sort of the point being here that the people who are accusing their employer of some form of discrimination based on a protected characteristic, the form of discrimination may be, under this Muldrow decision, that form of discrimination may be that performance improvement plan or that annual performance review, if it leaves the employee, quote unquote, worse off.
Right. Well, I guess, not getting your raise or being terminated or any of those scenarios would leave you worse off. So that is going to be really interesting to follow. I just got a whole lot more interested in this case. So what else? Anything else, Burt?
I think I've covered enough and given everybody enough bad news, although maybe for Missouri employers out there, there's a glimmer of hope with respect to this paid sick leave. And, one of the things we've talked about, I I think is important here, Phil, on the Missouri paid sick leave law. Most employers out there, most employers do in fact give their employees paid time off, paid sick leave, vacation time, and they aren't the target of this law. I want to make it very clear that the target of this law is really the restaurant, retail, and hospitality sector. And, because in those industries, if you don't work, you don't get paid. You don't work, you don't earn sick time, you need a day off because you're not feeling good. You just call in, you get the time off, but you don't get paid. And so this is trying to put in place some form of paid sick time for employees in those jobs where if they don't work, they don't get paid. They kind of took a sledgehammer to this problem by forcing all employers in the state to comply with this new law, even where the employers already offer probably many, or if not most, or in some circumstances, more of a benefit than what the law requires.
Yeah, no, agree. It, it, the intent is, I don't think all that bad. I think the methodology is what's broken in this. Hey,
Yep.
I don't know if you see the chat line here, Dave. He's sending you a little message. He's got a good questionnaire. Any thoughts that you want to comment on to our buddy Dave's contribution here?
So let me pull up Dave's question here. So let's see. I'm just going to read it. Does anyone else note the difference in the way we are advising employers? If OSHA shows up at the door to protect the health and safety of workers, employers are advised to resist, delay, and generally cooperate to the bare minimum. If ICE shows up, we are to hand over the individual without any verification or validation of legitimate authorization. And then he signs that, "Love, Dave." Dave, I think the difference there is whether this is a law enforcement agency that has the right to access a premises under color of law if there is probable cause, and even OSHA, if there's some threat of imminent harm, does have the right to do that. And so I have always encouraged very consistently people to cooperate with the governmental agency, bring them in, invite them in, put them in a conference room, call your attorney, sort this out. And so the cooperation piece has always been there no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Love Dave. He's such a character. One of my favorite listeners there. Okay. Burt, what we're really talking about is all the things that's happening out in the world and in the workplace that really relates to change. And we've kind of had several programs here dedicated to change, communicating change, change management. And these things are very difficult and complex once we get involved in a business. I heard something, or I read something just yesterday that was interesting. And, a lot of change has to do with listening, right? Our ability to listen. And, as humans, we have the ability to absorb 1,000 words per minute. Comprehend, the average human, right? So you're well above the average human level of intelligence, Bert. So you're over that level, right? I'm probably closer to like 250 words. All right. So, but as humans, we have the ability to take in 1,000 words per minute, but we only have the ability to speak between 150 and 200 words per minute. So when that happens, what happens is our mind is processing versus listening, right? So at that point, we're rebutting, we're thinking through our response, we're thinking through what does this mean to me, we're worrying about the impact, and then the ability to receive the message gets diluted. And then when we talk about change management, it's learning, one is how to listen, but when you think about our ability to absorb, listen, process, we don't listen well. And that often sets a chain reaction up for change that sets us in many different directions and causes us all to go through a cycle of change differently. So what I want to do, Burt, is I want to read, like we've done before, it seems to be very popular with the audience here, is I'm going to give you 5 questions here, and in each question, I'm going to give you 3 answers, and you know the routine. All three answers are correct, so you can't get it wrong.
Whew, that takes the pressure off.
There's no pressure. This is just which one do you resonate with or like the most and why. All right? Are you ready?
I'm ready, Phil.
Here we go. All right. How can we reduce fear and speculation during organizational change? We can provide regular updates. We can acknowledge the unknowns honestly, or we can empower managers with talking points.
So
Which one?
you are correct there, Phil. All three of these are correct answers, and I think that they're driving at one really important point here, and that is, we talk sometimes in the context of union organizing that a lot of employees seek a union because they're not, quote unquote, in the know in the workplace. That things just happen at the workplace and they have no idea that this is coming. They're not in on things, and so therefore they feel like they need somebody to represent them. And so all three of these choices really do drive at the point that employees want to be in the know. They don't like surprises, and I think that trying to communicate with employees about changes or potential changes and making them feel that they are in the know really is a great way to try to reduce the fear and speculation during organizational change. And in particular, I think your second choice that are about acknowledging the unknowns honestly, we definitely can let employees know what isn't known yet. And I think that builds a lot more trust than silence.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like the third one of empowering managers, because no matter how we communicate it as leaders, if we're at the top of the organization, the moment people get back to their workstations, they're talking to their managers and coworkers about it. And that's just another way then to intervene. But that's difficult to do because all the managers accept, receive, and are able to communicate all at different levels. And that can create some dysfunction if our managers aren't properly prepared.
Yes.
And that's the tough part of that one. But I do like it because whether your manager is considered to be a good communicator, has the ability to comprehend or not, they're going to get the questions.
Yeah.
And I like empowering them. All right, Bert, you get that one is a good answer for you. You got it correct. Well done.
Thank you,
I
Bill.
bet you can get 5 out of 5 on this. All right, here's the next one. What's the best way to communicate changes without overwhelming people? All right. So use a tiered approach. Start with executives, followed by managers meetings and team leaders or team meetings. Keep messages focused and digestible, and leverage multiple channels, emails, town halls, internet updates, those types of things, one-on-ones.
Yeah, so again, all of these are really good strategies, and I think that they can be used with one another to get the communication out there. And I think again, it's the regular communication that's sort of the theme that's running through all of these choices, that we want to be forthcoming, we want to do it on a regular basis, and we want to, very importantly, provide various avenues for people to get information and to ask questions.
Yeah. And I like that, like leveraging multiple channels, because I think everyone receives it differently. Some want that verbal, some want the one-on-one, some don't want the one-on-one because it could be an adverse impact on them, or whatever it might be, but they're not looking for that. So we have a phrase here at AIM that we use. We want to meet our members where they're at.
Yes.
And I like the idea of trying to meet each employee where they're at. And not all employees are in the same space, whether it's physically or in their ability to understand or absorb. And we want to take every effort to meet them where they're at.
And part of that, I think that second choice there about keep the messaging focused and digestible, that does help avoid information overload. Sometimes you might want to use FAQs, visuals, and timelines and make those available. Some people don't want to be informed of every nitty-gritty detail. They just want to show up, go to work, and they don't really care what goes on in the workplace. Other employees want to know every single detail and they want to be informed up to the minute. And so, by keeping the messaging focused and digestible and using those FAQs, et cetera, you're kind of also putting an avenue out there where people can digest this at their own pace.
You're peering into my personal life here. It's like when I go home, right? And my wife just starts informing me of every little detail of the day with every little thing that went on. I'm like, I really don't care. I don't need to know. I just want to be quiet for a little while.
Phil's like, I don't need to know all of this. Just tell me where I need to be tonight.
That's right. Yeah. Tell me
What do I need to wear?
and where I need to be. What should I wear? Yeah. Um, that's good. All right. So we're experiencing similar change there. All right, Burt, not the last one, the third one here. We got 5 minutes left. How can we retain top performers who might feel uncertain during change? So our top performers who are going to feel uncertain, and it doesn't matter how good of a performer people are, they're all going to receive change and go through the cycle of change at a different pace. But our top performers, be transparent about career paths, offer retention incentives or development opportunities, involve them in the process.
Again, all really good strategies. There is no wrong answer. You did warn you gave me that.
Well, I like to set people up for success,
Yep.
Burt.
Exactly. You did that well here, Phil. So all of these are really good strategies. And I think, again, it kind of depends on the personalities of the people that you're dealing with on which of these strategies or perhaps multiple strategies are the best ones. I think the one that probably bears a little bit of caution here is involving them in the process. Tap into their experience, ask for feedback, and keep them in the loop. I think that's important, but also there's a lot of times we don't want to give them sort of a false sense of participation or importance in the process, because if we ask them for the feedback and we don't end up implementing things that they might suggest, that does pose a little bit of risk that could cause them to become a little bit disgruntled. So I think asking for feedback is a good strategy, but keep the expectation appropriate that while we're soliciting feedback from people, that may or may not, ultimately bear on the decisions that are made.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of used to that as a lawyer, right? You write
Of course.
briefs and offer your feedback to legislation, changes, recommendations, proposals, and they don't listen hardly ever to
Yes.
the amount of feedback you've given them. But I think this is the importance of why we go through change management training, right? And we have a program. Really, it's designed specifically for HR leaders on April 24th. That's a good opportunity for those people who sit in that seat of HR to go through change management training, because we're conditioned to change very differently than the other people in our workplace. All we do is deal with change every single day. So we go through that cycle a lot faster, and it's important for us to have the proper skills when we're going through that. All right, Burt, number 4, how do we maintain culture and morale when the structure shifts? We reinforce values in every message. We celebrate small wins publicly, create space for employee feedback. Pick one.
Pick one.
Pick
I
one.
think I think on this one, number one to me is probably the most important. Reinforcing values in every message. We want to anchor every update in why and how it aligns with the company purpose. I think that one is first and foremost.
I think that's a really, I like your answer. That's the same one I would pick. It's not one I do very well. I lose sight of that, and it is the core of why we lean the way we lean with certain directions and change that occurs in the workplace. But I don't do it very well where I'm always tying it back to our values, maybe, or even our mission and purpose sometimes. So, okay, last one. So far, you're 4 for 4. Don't mess it up now, okay?
I'll try not to.
All right. How do we support employees emotionally during tough transitions like layoff or role changes? Offer access to EAP or counseling services, train managers in empathy in difficult conversations, and create peer support channels. I'm going with number 2, Burt, but it's really about what are you picking?
Well, I would also pick number 2, but I'd actually offer another option here. And I think that when there are transitions like layoffs or role changes, just constant communication is important. And one that often gets left out is the post-layoff or role change communication.
You are right.
And you know, there are times when, you know, you may be out there communicating to employees that we are going to be having layoffs. We have to make difficult decisions. I think when those decisions are done, it is very important to get the employees back together and let them know that we are done with this process. And, you know, and we realize that this has been painful, it's been stressful, but we think we've made it through. And, you know, and then, of course, telling people up front, pretty transparently, why these decisions are necessary, why we're trying to do this for business preservation, et cetera.
All right, look what just happened there, Nick. He got 5 for 5 and extra credit. That's why he's the overachiever that he's been.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Good job. All right. 5 for 5 plus his extra credit points. Well done. All right, so that wraps this up. We do have our leadership conference coming up. We have our Family Medical Leave Act program coming up on the 22nd, and 2 days later from that, the 24th, we have Leading Change for HR managers. Sign up for one or all of those. Other than the conference, it's sold out. Sorry. Maybe better luck next year, but we'll see you back here next week at 7:30. And for those who are celebrating the holidays, enjoy your holiday this week. Bye-bye.
Thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please like it, share it, and make sure it's on your calendar. If you're an on-demand viewer, don't forget you can be part of the show by watching live at 7:30 a.m. Central every Thursday morning, when you can get your burning questions answered by using the question mark icon to the right of the player. In fact, you can ask a question now. Head over to aimea.org. Under Member Resources, you'll find This Week at Work. Click Listen Live to register for our next episode and submit a question. Or follow or subscribe wherever you get your news and entertainment. We'll see you next week when we discuss what's happening this week at work.